Welcome to Rust Belt Builds, and today we bring you the assembly of the Camaro. Right here we got our aluminum heads. They are back from the machine shop as promised. Look at those bad boys. So, the camshaft is already in time, so we're gonna throw these heads on and we're gonna give you guys a good time. So stick around and find out. All right, so if you guys aren't familiar with these heads, these are some heads we picked up on eBay. They're a set of eBay aluminum heads, 205cc intake runners, 74cc exhaust. We have 202 160 valves on a 64cc chamber. I don't know if I already said that, but now you guys know again. And then we have ported and polished them. They were pretty rough. So yeah, that's what we have here. We got a comp cam spring kit on it. These are rated for 590 lift. And we have raised guide plates and screw-in studs, and that's pretty much the rundown. We're going to be using a 15,000 steel shim gasket from Valvetrain. It's going to put our compression somewhere around 10.4, 10.5 to 1. So these things are going to make some great power with this cam that we have. So we have our digital caliper, and then me and Dax sometimes get bored in between builds, so we like to make like little animal figures using clay. So yeah, that's that. And then we have a Permatex copper spray gasket, because when you use a steel gasket and on any metal head, you have to spray it or it will not seal, and then you will thank your blown head gasket later. Anyway, back to these. This was the cheapest thing we could find to measure our piston to valve clearance, because you do need clay when you're doing it the way that we're going to be doing it, which I'll explain in a second. So yeah, we pretty much take a little tiny ball, put it down in the valve reliefs on the piston. We will put our gasket on, the head on, and then we will torque them down just a tiny bit. We're not going to use no torque wrench. We just want the head to be flushed and true to the surface of the engine. We'll turn it around. We'll turn the engine over with the lifters and push rod, pretty much the whole assembly set up to as if it was going to be fired up. And then we will pull the head back off. And then that's what this comes into play. We will cut the clay in half, and we will measure our clearance so that we don't have any valves and pistons colliding. So that's the rundown of this, and we have spent a total of $5 for all this between AutoZone rewards and gift cards from returning parts and racking up a huge bill from AutoZone. So you spend $1,000, you get 20 bucks back. Cool. So that's where we're heading. Stick around and watch till the end. This is going to be insane. All right, so the way that we're going to be doing this method is the Play-Doh / modeling clay with a depth checker. So pretty much what you want to do is you just want to make a nice little ball of it, like so. So we want to make this nice ball, and we want to set this on the valve reliefs. So we're at a little bit of an angle, obviously. We're gonna pull everything off now. I had adjusted everything, and we're gonna check the clearance on the intake. Or sorry, that's the exhaust. Very stressful, but oh well.
All right, everybody, so we're spraying our head gasket with that Permatex copper gasket spray just to give it that extra protection and the extra insurance that it will seal and will have no head gasket issues at all. And if you use a steel shim gasket, you want to do this anyways. So we got the first coat of this. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to turn around and spray the other side.
All right, guys, so we were measuring piston to valve clearance. Everything checked out pretty good. We had a visitor show up, so we didn't record. So pretty much we are just cleaning up the thread holes now for the head bolts, just because if there's any coolant down in there, we do not want it to affect our torque readings when we torque the heads down. So we're just going to make sure these holes are cleaned up 100%. And yeah, so we're going to stab these heads on afterwards, and we'll give you guys an update.
All right, so we got both the heads sitting on the motor. This one has all the bolts in it. I'm gonna go ahead and torque this down in sequence, and then that's gonna finish off for this segment of the video. But in about 2 seconds, I'll see you guys in the next segment of the video when we go to put the timing cover on, the intake, and just button the motor up. So, all right, so now we're gonna paint these headers because they are honey baked, and we're gonna make them no longer honey baked. We got some VHT high temp aluminum color. We were gonna go with like a gold, like a Maladon color, but they didn't have that, and we can't make all this glorious horsepower and have headers that look like the bottom of the ocean, crustaceous crabs all over it. So we're gonna spray this, and then we'll show you the after. Obviously this is before.
All right, guys, so while Dax is working on spraying the headers a different color, I have pretty much got all the rocker arms on and push rods. They aren't adjusted yet because we still need to prime the system. So I drained the old oil out, put a new oil filter in, and then threw already just 1 quart of Schaefer's in. So this is what we use. We've used this on every build on this thing, and this stuff works great. So yeah, I got 1 quart in, and I'm going to put the other 5 in, and then we're going to prime the system. Once we know we have oil pressure coming out of the rockers, we will know that the lifters are primed. I mean, some people say they don't need to do this, but I do it anyway because you'll get a more accurate adjustment when you set cold lash. So yeah, heads are on. Valvetrain is pretty much set up. Me and Dax stabbed the harmonic balancer on. We fought with the timing cover. We got the fuel pump on, so few front accessories are already on and sealed up. Heads are torqued, and so we're just moving right along. So we're hoping to have this thing fired up tonight, which would be awesome because we are ready to shake the earth in this thing.
All right, guys, so here's the first header. We got the first coat on both sides. There's what we started with, junk. And I couldn't throw these nasty headers on those nice aluminum heads, so we had to do something nice to them. So I'm gonna finish up this one with a second coat and get full coverage on this one.
All right, so we don't have a priming tool, so we've just been priming it with a starter and taking breaks in between so we don't burn the starter out. It is a high torque starter and it can take some abuse, but we're not gonna try to run it to its limits. So we just got pressure, and so we're going to keep priming it until we get about 50 pounds. Just the other side. We have the intake on now. The headers are pretty much stabbed up to the heads.
This thing looks sweet, dude.
Yeah, it definitely does. So we're just marching right along. We have the valves adjusted. The engine is somewhat primed. And then we have the intake gaskets set. The China walls have a nice bead. We're letting them just dry up. And then, yeah, we'll torque the intake. We'll finish up snugging the header bolts, and then we'll work our way forward to the front of the engine, and then it's almost go time from there. So, man, this is coming along pretty nice. It definitely looks really good. All right, guys, so everything is stabbed together. We have everything on and torqued down for the final time, hopefully. So we're about to do the first fire up. We have the valves are adjusted, so this thing should just fire right up. I'm gonna be monitoring the valves while he's working the pedal and the ignition, and we're gonna come back and give you guys an update. right, so first fire up went smooth as ever. I've never actually just thrown one of these together, and on the first fire up, it just goes 100% without even having to really turn a screwdriver. It just fired up and did its thing. It wanted a little bit more timing with this bigger cam, and as soon as we gave it the extra 2 degrees, it was ready to party. So, man, I cannot believe this. I'd say 12 to 14 solid hours, just grinding away, taking our time, doing everything by the book, and it just turned out so good. We had no interference issues. We did have a small issue adjusting the valves, which if you guys ever use these rockers, you know that it likes a shaved down 5/8 socket. So we didn't have that. We had to work with what we did. We came up with a little procedure and it worked out good. The valves are adjusted, and we're gonna piece the valve covers on, and we're gonna go see what this thing can do. So thank you very much for watching this. I hope you stuck around to enjoy watching us put this together. We're gonna go drive this thing around, and that'll be the next video. So thank you for sticking around. Like, subscribe, comment, show us some love. Thank you.